legal services are expensive and in some cases unaffordable. Now, it is worse for people in the communities where poverty is prevalent. Now, to address this, there have been increasing calls for the training of paralegals at not just community levels to enhance access to justice and achieve faster justice dispensation. Now, services provided by paralegals include providing information to persons about their rights under the law, helping them to protect and enforce their rights, negotiating on their behalf if necessary, providing alternative dispute resolution services, and when necessary, contacting a lawyer to assist in resolving the case, particularly where litigation is necessary. Now, these are some of the issues we'll be talking about right now. Joining us to discuss this is a retired Lagos State High Court Judge, Justice Olushola Williams. Justice Williams, we're happy and glad to have you join us on TVC Breakfast this morning.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Now, before we go ahead, can you make us understand the term paralegals may not be very prominent, as much as it may not necessarily be new, but it may not be prominent on the streets every day. Who or what is a paralegal service?
You know, when we talk of para, it means something like paramilitary.
Okay.
And all that. So paralegal just means a legal professional who is not a lawyer. Well, in most cases, because we do have some lawyer paralegals, but it's somebody engaged in support services for the legal services delivery profession or industry. It's a profession in a number of countries, and these are people who work under the supervision of a legal practitioner to effect the administrative and some mundane routine legal matters that do not, require the attention of a lawyer. But if there was no paralegal, that lawyer would have to do. I think that's the best way to describe it.
All right. If we have to break it down to what paralegals do in the process of a justice system or litigation system, what would you say, if we have to break it down, simplifying it for people to understand, what kind of roles do paralegals engage in?
Oh, paralegals play. First of all, I must make the distinction between professionally trained paralegals. Okay. When you have a paralegal who is a professional in the right sense of the word, that paralegal assists a lawyer. They file documents. They take care of the office, all normal clerical office matters and administration of the office. So I'm sure I don't need to go into that. But the sort of legal work they would do is to file processes, do legal research, interview clients, interview witnesses, do factual research, and collate evidence, collate documents, write draft briefs, draft arguments, just generally assist the lawyer, but not doing anything that amounts to legal practice.
All right, so in that case, paralegals, do they go to law school or take bar exams?
If the paralegal is not a qualified lawyer, there is really no need for that. It's a very practical profession. And prior to the 70s, most paralegals were just people who worked in offices and were trained on the job. So the first, I think the word paralegal was first used in the 60s. And over time, it grew into a profession. And like every other profession that started that way, came to a point where you actually have to study to be able to get into the profession. And so trained paralegals just study. The only thing I can say is that in places where the profession is quite developed, and I will be talking of United States of America in particular, they have strong regulations, they have strong associations and strong bodies that can take the place of being called to the bar, like you said. But there's really no requirement for any form of legal education, or should I say legal practice requirements.
Okay. I wonder how out of place or awkward it would be if a paralegal, due to his experience and knowing what the case is, and also seeing the fact that maybe clients may not be able to afford a lawyer, decides to represent a client in court and goes to court to argue out cases. How awkward or out of place is that, or how possible is that?
First of all, any paralegal who is a professional, the first ethic is that you must not impersonate a lawyer. And it is drawn into paralegals. They are made to realize the aspects of the law that, like the legal practitioners' professional regulations, that states categorically that lawyers are the only ones who are able to give legal service, and that a non-lawyer should not be allowed. We also make them know the criminal implications of impersonating a lawyer. So it is very unlikely that it will happen. But then there are unscrupulous people, and in every profession you have fakes. You have quack doctors, you have fake nurses, this and that. So it can happen. And it is the job of the profession to ensure that it doesn't happen as often as that, and to make it as hard as possible for such a thing to occur.
All right. So in a situation where lawyers or cases are transferred from one court to another, and it seems not all lawyers know each other to say, okay, I know I can verify that this person is a true lawyer. What's the mechanism to verify, to ensure that anyone who is representing anyone in court is actually a practicing lawyer?
That risk has been there forever. It doesn't have to do with the profession of paralegals. But fortunately, now, the bar, I think the first thing that would happen, and that would make another practitioner suspect that this person is not a legal practitioner, would be the way they carry on and somehow exhibiting a lack of expertise. And fortunately for now, the Nigerian Bar Association has developed an app where you can actually go into that app, click onto the app, put someone's name in there, and find out whether they're actually a legal practitioner or not.
That's interesting. Now, the justice system of today is quite enormous, especially when there is a call to try to adjudicate with some cases expeditiously and all of that, especially when it comes to the call for special courts against electoral offenses, against corruption, and so on. Now, if we look at it from that window, how necessary are paralegals in the justice system of today?
Paralegals are an essential. As a matter of fact, I have so many quotations from jurisdictions in which they use paralegals, and it's obvious that if you are serious about the dispensation of justice, we would need to use paralegals. You said something about delay and congestion. One of the reasons why we have serious delay and congestion in Nigeria is that, like most other people in Nigeria, the lawyer is doing the work of 3 or 5 at the same time. He is not able to concentrate on his core functions. And so, he runs from pillar to post, taking one case, asking for adjournment in another. That automatically causes delay. And if he has a paralegal who is able to take care of all the mundane tasks, filing matters, collating papers, in the first place, lawyers are not trained to do those sort of administrative jobs. As a matter of fact, I read a book in which we were asking whether the legal practice is a vocation or, a business, a profit. And the lawyer is there to make profit, but he doesn't have a clue about accounting and things like that. So when paralegals take people to pay more attention to what they are supposed to do. There's also another, of course, also in the judiciary. If judges didn't need to write longhand write their draft rulings to start with, write everything that witnesses are saying and all that, and do, these administrative tasks. Then justice will go very fast. But there's a very, very important aspect of access to justice that a senior advocate pointed out very recently. And he narrated his experience where he had a very good case and he was in court. And in the course of examining his witness, he asked, no, I think under cross-examination, the witness was asked, this thing that you say you have, do you have the document? And he said yes. And he was told, where's the document and why is it not pleaded in your statement of claim? And he said, my lawyer didn't ask me, I didn't know. And he felt, really, really bad, and that was dangerous. And the reason was because that client did not have the confidence to tell the lawyer everything. As a matter of fact, there was no checklist to ask that, okay, well, this and that, there was, that gap of collating the document. So the point is that because legal practice, as we do court practice, is alien to our nature and even the average Nigerian, they have this distrust of the system. They try to protect themselves. Where he's supposed to tell the lawyer all the facts, he doesn't. As for the other person, they think that the lawyer can somehow turn good to bad and change things, so they don't even give all the necessary information. And that leads to injustice. A paralegal that doesn't have the degree and the ambience or whatever, the formality of being a lawyer, will be able to relate better to the client, give them the confidence that is necessary, drag out the information they need, and properly organize it so that a lawyer can then look at it analytically and, have the legal aspect of it.
Oh, all right. Now, if we have to understand this, what qualification must a paralegal have to practice paralegal service?
Like I said, initially, paralegals learned on the job. No. But now, there are a lot of institutions abroad in which you study. And usually what you get at the institute is a diploma. But there are also universities that offer degree courses in being a paralegal. But I believe that the minimum requirement for a qualified paralegal is a diploma from a paralegal training institute.
Okay. Now, if anyone has a case, you have a case in court and you want to meet someone, where is the first point of contact? Is it the paralegal that you should see first before you seeing a lawyer, or you see a lawyer first and he calls in a paralegal?
No. Okay. A paralegal is part of the apparatus. It's part of the office. You might have a point in that in America and maybe in the UK as well, they have independent paralegals that you can go and see. But in Nigeria, and in most cases, and more commonly, paralegals work in law offices. So when you have a case and you go into that law office, you've gone there with the intention to see the lawyer. The paralegal is a staff there and is an essential part. So when you're seeing the paralegal, you're actually seeing the law practice. But in practical terms, usually at that formal stage, at that informal stage, you'll be coming across a paralegal, unless maybe somebody introduced a client. But if a client was to walk into an office just because he has a case, of course, that paralegal is the first responder. And that is one of the reasons why it is so important to train paralegals. And if, I may digress a bit, that is so important that in the judicial system, when you go into court, you find a lot of touts saying you want to this, you want to that. And their whole point is to give the impression that you can never get ahead without using them, and you cannot. But there are paralegals in the court system. There are registrars, there are receptionists, there are people that are waiting to attend to people. Unfortunately, the result of this is that we are driving people more and more away from the court system. It is alien to them. They distrust it. And there's even now a very negative narrative about the court. If you tell someone that I'll take this matter to court. He does not have that confidence that, yes, go ahead, that is where my right will be determined. He throws up his hands in the air and is crying and said, oh my God, how would I go to court? And this is all part of what not having paralegals has done to our legal system.
Well, as it is right now, like you said, a lot of people don't have confidence and trust in the legal system. But if we have to restore that, because we're developing and going somewhere, we're growing to a level of confidence and maturity and stability, what steps should be taken generally? Because if you assess and evaluate country to country, there are some countries that an average citizen has confidence in the judicial system. For instance, like in South Africa, an average South African has confidence in the judicial system more than maybe so many other African countries. If you're liking it to Nigeria, like you said, so many people have skepticism regarding if they're going to get justice in the court. How do we restore that and ensure that people have that strong confidence and trust if a case is taken to court, even if they don't have monies to pay?
First of all, there's a whole problem with Nigeria of a lack of national identity. Now, when somebody believes in the country they are in, then they have at least the minimum requirements to begin to have confidence in the systems. So we have that issue with Nigeria. Another issue that we have is that Nigeria has borrowed principles and has borrowed policies, which we do all the time, without laying down the infrastructure that allowed those policies to work. In the same way, we have borrowed some things from our mother of law, which is the British system. We have got so many things that are alien to our nature, not to talk of their archaic, and even the first originators of them have abandoned them. That's another thing. So we have this peculiar problem that we're not given a peculiar solution. We just act as if we're in the UK or wherever where it has been done, and we begin to adapt the laws. Not even adopt the laws. But what we should do is to adapt. The first thing I would give an example of is that it is well known and it is said, judges should be silent and not be seen. Judges are this and that. In America, judges are silent. There are a lot of other things like that. So it doesn't mean that judges should prejudge cases openly and all that. But I believe that it is a responsibility of the judiciary to consider the public a stakeholder and have public enlightenment, engagement of the public. There must be, when we want to have new rules, we have stakeholders meetings. We call lawyers, and nobody calls the public. So the public must be addressed and they must be made to understand the court system. Because of that, a lot of lawyers and other people cheat. The average person, someone was telling me about being in the citizens and being asked to do something that is worth, I think, 5,000 naira. And this person had been charged 50,000 naira and the lawyer didn't do a thing. So there's that need for public enlightenment. That is the job of the judiciary. Then lawyers have a role. The NBA is trying, but I believe that, like a lot of things in Nigeria, so many things have to be decentralized. And lawyers have to be disciplined when they do things that, remove the confidence in the legal system. Lawyers have to be more restrained. Lawyers themselves are there declaring that the system does not work.
All right. Now, we have
lawyers who, for their own private gain, give them that you from.
All right, we have to leave it here now. We seem to have distortions from your audio, but we got your point. And
really?
At this point, talking about the judiciary having a lot to do in reforming the system and creating confidence in the minds of Nigerians. Thank you so much, Justice Olushola Williams, former retired Lagos State High Court judge. We really appreciate you for giving us enlightenment in these areas, and I believe going forward, people will have a better understanding of what paralegals are and what they do. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thank you for the opportunity.